Hi everyone, my name is Sabapathy Narayanan. I'm having a series of conversations with experts in the payments domain. These conversations allow us to understand where this industry is heading towards and some of the interesting trends that we should look at and be aware of. Today we have with us Vasudevan Swaminathan. Vasu is the president and principal consultant at Zuchi Systems. Zuchi Systems uses ML, machine language, to identify creditworthiness of borrowers and help in approving their loans in a few seconds. They do this using a product called Halo. Vasu, thanks for being a part of the show. And so Halo stands for Heuristically Programmed Algorithmic Output. Can you explain what it is in simpler terms just to set the context?
Halo is a service that helps in underwriting for any financial institutions ever. So today, the biggest challenge is underwriters do not have the time to go through a lot of applications before they make a decision. So Halo helps them in improving their productivity, number one. Number two, in general, irrespective of which region you are in, there are biases that are introduced, and sometimes, it is very difficult to take a gamut of parameters and make a decision on an application in terms of whether somebody is a good or a creditworthy borrower. So with no kind of biases or anything introduced, theoretically with indefinite number of inputs, Halo can make a decision and help the underwriter in saying that whether somebody is good or not. Those are at a very fundamental level is what we do with Halo.
All right. So when you say it can take inputs from any data points and then do it, so what kind of data points are we talking about here?
It takes two types of data. One is primary data. Second is alternate data. I will clarify the alternate data part because most of the times people think that it is social data. But let me come to that. Primary data, in the sense, the lender, which is the captive data that the lender is using, is what I'm referring to as primary data, and that includes details about the applicant, such as their name, bank details, where they are from, what's their gross net information, or net salary information, income, and all of that. Actually, depending on, let's say, if it's the US, every region has a set of restrictions, parameters, and everything. California could operate differently from Texas in terms of lending. So all that is taken into consideration from a primary data standpoint. Alternate data for us means that you could be looking at institutions like TransUnion or Experian, who might be providing you with the data. There could be fraud detection systems with whom we can engage through API calls and everything, take all of the data before we make a decision on an applicant. So that's the kind of data that we're dealing with today.
Okay, so when you go to a lender, okay, so how does this entire process work? I mean, what do you actually do, or what does a lender have to do for them to onboard themselves onto Halo and then start using Halo for their underwriting needs?
Halo is a self-service platform today, so it has a UI. Interestingly, it is, to the best of my knowledge, the only product that has a UI. A lot of companies ask you to send their testing and training data, ask you to send your testing and training data, which they take for processing basically, and then they send back a certain level of accuracy. And if you are comfortable with that accuracy, or if you think it is doing better than your in-house system, then you onboard basically. On the other hand, what Halo does today is there is a set of UI screens that Halo has got. So a data modeler, or let's say, anybody in an organization can log into Halo. And let's say if he's a lending officer, there are a set of dashboards and all that, which he can look at in terms of how the engine is performing, how it is providing accuracy and everything. On the other hand, let's say if you are a data modeler or a data engineer, there are screens that you can use to upload your data from different sources, the primary alternate data that I was talking about. So you can either, upload an Excel sheet, or let's say you can actually upload from external source like a SQL database and things like that. And the modeler can go through these screens basically, and then they can start managing the machine completely. So the backend suite source algorithm works actually through APIs, JSON calls and everything. And then on the UI screen, you get to see, you can create your models, you can customize them, you can create any number of models, compare them and things like that, and then see how the engine is performing and how you are getting your results, and measure the accuracy and things like that.
Okay, so this you would be able to validate it on the historical data as well, is it?
Correct.
Okay.
Usually we mandate, not mandate, we suggest that they have a certain size of data that would be useful for Halo to operate on. At the end of the day, machine learning, data sciences is all about data.
Right.
And there could be tremendous impact due to the size of the data that is being put into any kind of data science solution or machine learning solution. Halo is no different basically. So if you give 1,000 records to Halo, the way it operates or the accuracy it provides could be different. If you provide 10,000 records, the data could be different actually. So we suggest that they have at least 100,000 to 300,000 records to start with, and it can go to any number of any size, assume millions or whatever it could be.
Okay, all right. So suppose I, as a lender, if I already have an underwriting instrument, okay, so but I want to improve that, okay, in which case would Halo be able to integrate itself with the existing underwriting instrument and then do it, or do I have to replace the existing one with Halo?
Depends on what your underwriting instrument is. Let's say you are using a rule-based engine. I think that's a scenario where you would have configured rules and everything in order to derive the kind of accuracy that you want. That's indirectly a kind of bias, I can say. Okay. So if you're trying to replace that rule engine with an unbiased, no intervention system like Halo, it makes perfect sense. However, the flip side of that is you would be a little disappointed when Halo starts giving you results initially because you have configured your rule engine in a certain way. So Halo learns itself from data. There is no, rules or anything for that matter. So the initial results could be a little disappointing since your rules have been configured differently. But if you're starting to use Halo directly, then the results could be very interesting for you. So yeah, Halo basically helps you, or you can replace your existing system with Halo, or you can get started. Assume for a moment you are already using a machine learning based system, then you'll have to see what your challenge is, and then talk to us to figure out how Halo can be a better solution so that we can help you with all of that. Because at the end of the day, it's all about data again.
Okay, so all right. So now coming back to the original question, that is Halo doing the creditworthiness of a borrower. Okay. So what does it exactly do? I mean, does it say it's approved or denied, or does it also give reasons as to why it is approved or why it is denied? And what's the yardstick that it has?
Okay. We use Halo for different customers or different lending institutions differently. Some might say, I just need a approved or a denied. That's the fundamental thing. But that's more for the end customer. So when a lending applicant comes onto a website and when they apply, maybe they just want to an approve or a denied. They don't want to see a message saying I'm in review actually. But internally, you might want to see if somebody needs to be reviewed for some reason. You might want, let's say, there's a certain parameter that's kind of an outlier, and you might want to review that. Let's say he has been a one-time defaulter and things like that. So for each one of these buckets internally, or in each one of these cohorts, I should say, we basically provide evidence to the lender. Now, the lender at the end of the day can use a HTML or any other thing, sugarcoat this data and present it to the end client actually. But for them, it will be either a reject or an approve. But internally, we provide different cohorts that the lender can use and then decide how they want to present it to the end client.
Okay, all right. So now let us assume that Halo approves or rejects. Okay, and your lender wants to override that decision. Okay. So for instance, if you have approved, they don't want to go ahead with the loan processing, or if you have denied but they still want to go ahead with approval for some reasons. Okay, so now that you're saying that it is a self-learning platform and all of it, so this decision, how does it affect your decision making going forward, or do you still consider your original judgment of approved or denied as a part of your learning process?
No, we keep tuning the engine often actually. So if the lender feels that they would like to override the decision that Halo has made, we would like to understand. When I say we would like to understand, again, there is no manual intervention there. Halo would like to look at those buckets or those records that the customer has said that, that the lending institution has said that, these are records that I'm going to overwrite as opposed to what Halo has given me. So those would be taken as learning for Halo, and the engine would optimize itself in order to, validate any future decision by taking those inputs basically. So the lender has the right to override the decision, but we would like to take the learnings from that and fine tune the engine because it learns from data at the end of the day.
All right. So, okay. So now coming back to your, the scoring thing. Okay, so I mean, how different is it from a typical credit score?
A credit score is typically used as one parameter for somebody to validate a lending applicant. The problem with credit scores is the FICO model basically says that if you're below 640, then you cannot get access to a loan. And that is where a lot of institutions today are trying to fight that by saying that somebody could be at 620 and still be a good applicant. They could still be a creditworthy borrower. But
Right.
how is credit score determining that? So that is where we don't want to rely only on credit score, but we take credit score into consideration. But let's say, as instead of a 640, somebody is at 629. Then what Halo would do is it would look at all the different other parameters and then say this guy is 620, which it will highlight, but still say this is a great guy. You should go ahead and approve him, because that is where the lender also makes his revenue. So we would like to point out more such applicants so that the lender feels confident today.
Okay, all right. So for Halo, what does your typical customer look like? I mean, is it like large lending institutions, or is it the small value lending institutions, or are we talking about fintech apps and things like that? So who are your ideal customers?
Halo is kind of agnostic, so it is not restricted to just cash advance or personal loans or anything. You want to use it for auto loan, you can still do that. Or if you want to use it for any other type of mortgage, you can still do that actually. So our primary customers today are more into small-time funding institutions, small-time lending institutions that are involved in cash advances or personal loans, merchant advances, and things like that. So again, there, small business funding also happens today. SBA is approving a lot of loans for small business in this pandemic. Halo could be a great fit there actually, or as part of the payroll protection program for employees. Halo can be used to see if a small petty shop here that is running a saloon or something like that can validate customers and things like that actually. I mean, not exactly saloon, but I'm saying any other financial institution for that matter. So any financial institution can use Halo, but today primarily a lot of people that come to us are small-time businesses, small-time lending institutions that is validating either the B2C way or institutions that are operating in the B2B space specific to financial payments.
All right. So now you did mention at the beginning about this alternate data sets, right? So what are those alternate data points that which you look at in Halo?
In Halo, we use TransUnion Experian. Halo doesn't use your social security number directly. The reason being that it has its own set of things to be validated from a federal standpoint and things like that. And of course, I think if we are looking at deploying Halo in India, we're talking to a few companies where, we don't want to get into Aadhaar and things like that. But, as opposed to, comparing Aadhaar versus SSN is more of a bigger challenge. So what we do is, we don't want to get into that. But today, the lending institution basically looks at all the data. So what we do is we ask them to provide us with access to something like a TransUnion or an Experian, with whom we interface or communicate through APIs, get that data. So external systems like TransUnion Experian is one type of alternate data. Second type of alternate data is you might have systems like Credit Logic and things like that, which are more like fraud detection systems where the customer, if he has been a defaulter or at some point of time he has tried to evade by making a payment and things like that, all that gets recorded basically. So we can use that kind of system as another level of alternate data to do that. Now the third kind is Facebook, LinkedIn, social forums basically. The challenge with that data is they are truly not giving us a fair view of judging the applicant or validating the applicant. So that's an area where we are doing some work in progress by trying to collaborate with third-party companies that use only social data. So that's the third type of alternate data where we are trying to see how we can include that data as well in order to make a validation to see if somebody is really good in terms of their creditworthiness.
All right. So now coming to this, most lenders, right, the large lenders, they don't get involved in small value loans. Okay, stating that it takes a lot of efforts and time and money in servicing and managing those customers. Okay, and I believe that underwriting is also a huge component in it. Okay, so for those kind of lender profiles, does Halo really help them in also doing the small value loans?
As I said earlier, a lot of companies may not have the luxury to deploy underwriters. So small-time business loans, particularly small-time lending institutions, may not have the luxury to go beyond one underwriter. They might have a plethora of loans coming in every day, loan applications coming in every day, but they may not have the luxury to validate each one of them because they would just have one underwriter. Particularly for scenarios like that, Halo would be extremely useful because it allows the underwriter to focus on those applications that he needs to focus on while not trying to look at every application and things like that. So for small business loans or small lending institutions, Halo could be extremely useful.
Okay, all right. So not so much for the large lenders, is it?
Large lenders, it works for both actually. It all depends on how you set up. See what happens. I was talking to Citibank, for example. They said that they have about 25 underwriters today who validate about 400 to 500 applications that come in. And they said that the 25-member team is not enough. And that's one of the reasons they were talking about getting in a system like Halo, basically. They just want one or two senior underwriters to focus on the critical ones. Like, for example, somebody whom they think is an outlier in terms of, default and things like that. While the rest of the underwriters basically are, just servicing applications for the sake of, getting it and passing it on to things saying that, okay, done. I have seen this. How much of intense review are they doing is a big question, simply because they are getting 400 applications per day. They may not have the time. So for a big institution, again, whatever the junior underwriters are doing can be done by Halo completely, while you can just have 3-4 people at the top level who are senior underwriters who would be only focusing on those applications which, the organization thinks has a little need for attention types.
Okay, so now that you have given me the example of Citibank, so what percentage of lenders do actually have an automated underwriting system?
In the US in particular, only large organizations have automated underwriting. Most of the small-time lenders, small-time business institutions do not have automated underwriting. So they go with the rule-based engine in-house, which you can call automated actually, but there is quite a bit of manual intervention there because they want to increase the number of applications for lending. So a lot of times when the rule-based engine itself could reject somebody. So immediately based on past experience, somebody in-house might pitch in and say, oh, that's okay, the system rejected it, but let's go ahead and get this guy, he seems to be okay, that kind of a thing. So there's a lot of manual intervention that's happening there today. So automated underwriting is there, but if I were to call it fully automated, no.
Okay, all right. So based on your experience of having worked with lenders, okay, so can you give me a couple of cases where it has actually helped the lenders do their lending better, and is there any data points that which you can share?
Sure. We are at about, to start off, we give you a 50% accuracy. That's like a flip of a coin in terms of probability.
Okay, yeah.
So 50% accuracy is what we get started with, basically. From there on, the thing is, they might have a goal. They might say, I would like to get to 90% accuracy. So one of the things that we say earlier in the game is, getting to a 90% accuracy is not going to be easy. So from after the 60% crosses, we basically look at each and every application, look at each and every data point and things like that, how they have been approving applications in the past and all of that, and then try to basically set Halo's engine accordingly. Because that's one of the challenges that you have seen from the past, because they might say that, oh, this applicant, I would have actually approved him. Why did your system reject it? So we then give explanation in terms of why we rejected it. And they might say, no, you have looked at this data separately. This needs to be looked in conjunction with another data that I'm having. So those are things that you will do in the first 12 to 13 weeks of training Halo. And that way, how that lender's context is basically. So that's how it works. But today we start off to give a initial thing, we give a 50% accuracy. And in a lot of places, I hear the lender saying that, oh, this is better than what I get today.
Okay, all right. So what's the typical time frame that it takes for you to train Halo? Is it just the 12 to 13 weeks or?
Yeah, the initial setup to get the engine up and running with all this data cleansing, analysis, integrity, check and all that would take about 12 to 13 weeks basically. But in general, for the first thing to roll out and start giving you results, I've seen that it takes about 18 weeks roughly.
Okay, all right. So we're talking about
4 months. Yeah.
4 to 5 months. Yeah, that's pretty okay. All right. So coming back to the original question that I had in my mind was, who do you compete with in this space?
We have, as far as the US goes, we have a couple of organizations today actually. Those are the top ones in terms of machine learning based underwriting actually. But as far as other regions go, I have not seen a lot of companies still doing complete underwriting or automated machine learning based underwriting. So there are only a couple of players in the space in the US region. But we are trying to see if Halo can be a fit for every market. But each region, each country's lending rules are very different. So we are trying to see how we can fit in there actually. But today we just have a couple of competitors here in the US, and they are slightly ahead of us because one of them is Google supported. So they are ahead of us in this game, very, very ahead of us in this game. So I would say, I mean, the other company is fairly like us actually. But those are the two names that I see within the underwriting space today.
So how do we compare with all this underwriting things that are used in Africa kind of places where they do a lot of small value lending based on the typical alternate data and the behavioral data and all that? So is that a space where you can also play a role?
Yes, Sabba, we can actually, but we have to very clearly, we have to be very careful when we use this word called data. One of the things we have been very cautious about telling, we have been very cautious about telling customers is data is important, but do you have, clean data? Having data is one thing. Cleansing the data and having the right data is another thing. It's like building a needs of hierarchy, like Maslow says. So for artificial intelligence systems like machine learning to work, the needs of hierarchy would be to start with source of data, which will be at the bottom of the pyramid, getting different sources of data, whether it is a kiosk, or any other form for that matter, and then cleansing it from there, and then getting to a level where you do a extraction, transformation, loading with your business intelligence and things like that. That could probably be sitting at the center of the pyramid. And from there, which means that you have some level of data that you think would be useful, is where you start building your initial set of models for machine learning and things like that before you get into even more higher levels. So that's what we tell customers, saying that we can help you, but don't expect results overnight. Don't tell me that I have 300,000 records of data, so get me to 90% accuracy tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. So Halo, we tell them very clearly that if you start getting a 50 to 60%, you should be very, very happy with that. Now, if you come back and say, what, I don't need a system like Halo, I'm already getting 85% from my rule-based engine, and I'm getting a lot of lending applicants and things are working, well and good. So that's why we always tell them Halo is a complementary system. It is not a replacement system for your existing workflow. You need to use Halo as a complementary system initially, look at what results you are getting, and over a period of time, it is only based on your data, the learning from your data, that Halo can actually help you. So it's like Jerry Maguire, where Tom Hanks says, Cuba Gooding Jr., help me help you. That's what it is.
Yeah, so probably you should have kept that as a tagline for your product also. Help me help you. So.
I should consider that, yes.
Right. So if I have to ask you, why should a lender consider Halo? So I mean, can you give me that pitch in say about under 50 words?
A lender needs to consider Halo for the simple reason that they can build more lending applications over a period of time using Halo. They can, number one. Number two, they can avoid any kind of bias being introduced into the system. Let it be in any form, whether it is through the underwriter or through the data. They can avoid doing that. I can only say these two things.
Right. I mean, that's pretty powerful as well. So I think you may probably have to add that the only self-learning platform.
Correct. The only self-service platform for underwriting. Yes.
All right. So
credit-based underwriting.
So if people need to reach you, how do they reach you, Vasu? Either you or Zuki?
We have a page dedicated to Halo on Shuchi Systems, which is shuchisystems.com/Halo. So you can read more about it there. There is a video that is going to get uploaded shortly that we have recently done based on some of our customer work and everything. So they can look at it and see how the model gets generated, how it works and everything. It should be uploaded in a week or so from now. But otherwise, there's plenty of information available on the page. And then they can always write to sales@shuchisystems.com. Where we take these requests immediately, and we have an account representative who jumps in and starts talking to you.
Okay, so to end all my conversations, I have actually started asking this question from today. Okay, which is, what would you do if you had an extra hour every day, Vasu?
I would go with Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Effective People. I would sharpen the saw,
All right.
the seventh habit. I would probably do something better in order to make my results better, actually. So there are a number of things. As far as Halo goes, I think I would focus more on the data and things like that in order to provide better, accurate results rather than worrying about the algorithm itself. I would focus more on the data cleansing, which is the sharpening the saw activity for Halo if I'm given an hour extra. But if you're asking personally for me, I would still want to, I would do better time management, which I'm actually finding difficult.
All right. So that's why I gave you an extra every day. So.
Thanks, Abba.
All right. So thank you so much, Vasu. I'm really, really excited about Halo and its possibilities. I think we should have a follow-up conversation, say, in about a year's time as to how well we have progressed and all that. Okay. So thank you so much for spending time with us. Okay. And have a great day.
Absolutely, Sabha. Thank you so much for talking to me. And I wish you and Payhuddle and the team a great success, actually. Let's connect again. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll also upload this video along with your URL that which you mentioned on Halo. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So that people will be able to reach you easily. Thank you. Thank you, Vasu.
Thanks, Abba. Appreciate it. Thank you.